Hello, I chose to do my presentation today on the psychology of play and its continuing importance for adults. But first, we're going to talk about the importance of play for children. So, play has social, emotional, physical, and cognitive benefits. Outdoor play, physical play, is especially important in developing motor skills, risk management capabilities, and creativity. Play may help us navigate some of the fundamental conflicts listed in Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, like trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, industry versus inferiority, etc. Some modern theories also hold that play helps children learn emotional expression, stress management, and how to communicate with others. However, as the digital age progresses, children are spending less time out playing outside than they're spending looking at screens. One study says that on average, children spend 7 hours per day using entertainment media. And I'm fairly certain the same is true for adults. So now we're going to talk about why is play important for adults. In one small study, older adults were interviewed about their experiences of play throughout life, and they shared sentiments such as play helps you to work with people. If you stop playing, you'll get old. Another one that I didn't have space for on the slide was you should do everything that's physically possible. And if you're doing it in a way of enjoyment, then it's actually play. Play can help us improve our mood and boost creativity, and it can also help us to decompress, get our mind off our problems, and build resilience, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. I watched a lovely TED Talk from Jessica McGuire called How Play Can Heal Your Nervous System. And in that TED Talk, she talks a lot about the vagus nerve, which is part of the autonomic nervous system that starts in our brainstem and runs down the spinal column, touching nearly every organ. The vagus nerve is the dorsal vagus branch of the vagus nerve is non-myelinated, which means it sends slower signal transmissions, and it functions kind of to slow us down. It's sometimes called the vagus brake, and it's part of the parasympathetic response. This graphic here is from Dr. Daniel Siegel's window of tolerance theory. And yeah, it kind of goes into the sympathetic response, hyperarousal, and the hypoarousal or the parasympathetic response. But essentially, when we're in our window of tolerance, we are functioning at our best. But when certain stressors reach a certain threshold, we might shift into hyperarousal or the sympathetic response, often called the fight or flight response. And if we're not able to resolve the issue in fight or flight, we sometimes then drop down into hypoarousal or the parasympathetic freeze response. Some characteristics of hyperarousal in the fight or flight are anxiety, nervousness, hypervigilance, and a need to take action. Has something of like a mobilizing energy. And then some characteristics of hypoarousal are like an energy drop, dissociation, disconnection from others and from our own body. So we can't dictate how we move between these states. The survival brain does this. A healthy nervous system is flexible and adaptable. And the goal is that we can adapt what's happening inside of us to match what's happening outside of us. But this isn't always the case. Our window of tolerance can get smaller as a result of PTSD or stress, leading to more time spent in anxiety, the hyperarousal, or the freeze of hypoarousal. These are natural responses to move between, but without exercising our vagal brake, we can become stuck in certain responses. And so this is where play comes in. Play is actually something that can help us return to our window of tolerance and maintain flexibility within our nervous system. So essentially, we can retrain our nervous system through play. And what is play? The play zone, we'll call it, is a blend of two states, the ventral and the sympathetic, which you can see in the whiteboard graphic here. The ventral state is the safe and social, connected state, and then the sympathetic is, like we talked about before, kind of the fight, flight, But it doesn't always have to be negative. A lot of times it can just be mobilizing energy that helps us kind of rise to the occasion to deal with a challenge. So when we're able to blend the ventral and the sympathetic states, there is safe mobilization, or what we would call play, and this does not have the fight or flight response or cortisol release associated with hyperarousal. So basically, the sympathetic nervous system's mobilizing energy or excitement blends with our central nervous system's calm and connection. Yeah. So, what might play look like for adults? It could be doing puzzles. This is a New Girl reference to Winston doing a puzzle, if anyone likes that show. It could look like playing with your pets. It could look like having a dance party, gardening, and a lot of other things. And play is most effective when done with others because the vagus nerve has to do with social engagement. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.